Welcome, everyone. I think you're really going to like this. And it's something that you've really got to pay a lot of attention to. It's not something you learn overnight. But you get studying this, and you can literally have anything you want. Now, if you look here, I've been studying this for 60 years. I was 60 years. I started my 60th year last October. And I think, this is something you should study all the time. It's not just something you study once in a while. If you look at this for a moment, I think that Neville put it very well. He said, you're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. I want you to think about that for a moment. Really give that some thought. You're only limited by weakness of attention. Do I have quoted Dr. Wernher von Braun on numerous occasions. When John Kennedy, when he was the President of the United States, asked the good doctor, the father of the space program, greatest scientist, what it would take to build a rocket that'll carry a person to the moon and bring him back safely to Earth. He answered him in 5 words. He said, the will to do it. Now, will is a mental faculty. You have perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, and intuition. These are all our higher faculties. This is what makes us who we actually are. This is what separates us from all the rest of the animal kingdom. And Neville's saying, you're only limited by weakness of attention. Wernher von Braun was telling President Kennedy, all you need is to give it your full attention, the will to do it. See, the will gives us the ability to concentrate. I don't know what you want, but I do know this. If you can think it, and you can let yourself get emotionally involved with it, and you stay focused on it, you can have it. Now that's a very basic concept, but it's not the easiest thing for most people to do. But the more you study it, the better you're going to get at it. But I love this. You're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. You've got to activate your imagination. A lot of people just use their imagination for, gosh, I hope this doesn't happen, or I hope that doesn't happen. They're letting it go in the wrong direction. Our imagination is the most marvelous. He'll, in Think and Grow Rich, he'll said the imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force that the world's ever known. It'll create anything for you. It'll take you anywhere. Your imagination will take you anywhere, and it'll give you anything you want. That's a beautiful thing to know. Now, everyone has a story, and I'm not an exception. I'd like to share my story with you, some of my story, not all of it, but some of it. And it has a lot to do with when I started to understand this law, the law of vibration. The Secret talked about the law of attraction. The Secret was a runaway, it went viral, a very bestseller. It's reported 500 million people have been impacted by the movie or the book, The Secret. Now, I was very fortunate to have a key slot in that movie. It's been often said that I'm better known in Iraq than I am in Indiana. And I think that's true. This is the primary law right here. The law of attraction starts with the law of vibration. And let's take a look at where the law of vibration starts. It starts right in your own mind, right in your own head. Your mind activates brain cells. And when those brain cells are activated, you're impacted. You impact the whole universe. Do you know that thought waves are cosmic waves that penetrate all time and space? You see, as you get studying this and as you start to get into it in some depth, the ideas are so vast, they're so huge, and you think, this is about me? See, I don't think the vast majority of us have ever been introduced to who we really are. I think that if a person started to show some promise in developing a healthy self-image, they were told that they were being conceited. Don't be like that. That's not the way it should be. And of course, we get a lot of other bad information in there. But this law of vibration starts in our own marvelous mind. And I'd recommend that you start really studying this. If you just stick with us, what I've done, I've taken some of the most complicated material and I've reduced it to the most simplistic form, because that was the only way I was going to understand it, and I had marvelous teachers that helped me get that. Now, Lincoln said something absolutely incredible. Lincoln said many things that are incredible, but he said, to believe in the things you can see and touch is no belief at all. But to believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. Think of that. To believe in the things you can see and touch. We've got things we can see and touch. That's no belief at all. To believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. Do you know the biggest part of you you'll never see? The real you you'll never see. Now we've got to start to understand this. We've got to start to get it in the right slot in our mind. We've got to realize that there's so much to us that we don't really get. We don't understand. Our educational system is so lacking in teaching us who we are. You can study psychology, but most people that study psychology have never really got to know themselves. I'm talking about in depth, who you really are, your relationship to the whole scheme of things, or your relationship to God. You're talking about an infinite power, and you're created in that image. We have infinite potential locked up within us. What we want to do is learn how to use it for good in our life. This man changed my life probably as much as anyone in all the years I've been here. Leland Val van der Waal introduced me to some enormous ideas. That's a slide of Val working in a seminar that he and I and Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield started. I come up with the idea on a plane. I phoned Mark Victor Hansen, and then we got a hold of Val and Jack and got other people. And we put together a thing called the $1 Million Forum. And the idea behind it was we were going to teach people how to earn $1 million by setting up multiple sources of income. It was an absolutely phenomenal program. Now, we had some phenomenal teachers in that program. I mean, it was really a mind blower. It was so good. And Val, of course, wowed them all. He's gone now, God bless him, but he had such an impact on my life. And he helped me, he got me into things that I never thought of in my life. He was the one that first told me about this. He says, those who tell stories rule society. He said, learn lots of stories, Bob. Because he said, you are a story. You are a story. Now think about that. You are a story. You're a mass of energy and you function on frequencies. You are. Now think of that. You may not think of yourself that way. And then you might say, what's this got to do with anything? Well, if you really understand it, you can attract more money, all the money you want, as a matter of fact. You can attract good health. You can attract great relationships. You can attract phenomenal business. I sat down on a sofa in a room by myself in a little house on Maplewood Lane in 1973, and I said, I'm going to build a company that operates all over the world. The lady that introduced us, Mikey Steller, is our Chief Operating Officer, and she's also our Marketing Director. And I sat down to watch television one night, which I very rarely do, and I only watched it for a few minutes. I thought, I don't want to watch this. And as I was getting up, my phone rang. And it was Mikey on the phone. This would be maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And she said, Bob, I just got a call from Betty. We're in every country in the world. I thought, wow. I wrote that in 1973. I was intellectually involved and I got emotionally involved. But I was it. I was the company. There was no one else. I was by myself. That's what I wanted to do. If you don't know what you want to do, you're going to drift. You're just going to float around like a leaf on a windy day. You're not going to go anywhere. You are a mass of energy and you function on frequencies. And Val really helped me understand that. Val van der Waal had a very strong spiritual understanding. And he said, Bob, if you take a picture of yourself with a Curlian camera, you're going to see yourself as a glistening, radiating, gleaming form. Semyon Curlian was a Russian photographer back in 1934, and he perfected Curlian photography, what we call now Curlian photography after him. When you photograph mass, you can photograph the energy coming from it. You can photograph a plant, and you'll see there's a vibration coming from the plant. Everything vibrates. A garden rock is vibrating. Everything moves. Nothing rests. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you because I think it's a mighty important thing for you to really understand. You see, energy functions on frequencies, and that's what you're made of. Your body is a mass of living energy. A frequency is a level of vibration. That's exactly what a frequency is. There is an infinite number of frequencies. Remember I said you can think, activate brain cells, and you send off a charge of energy. Now stay with me here. This is so important, yet it's so misunderstood. There's an infinite number of frequencies. Every one of those little purple lines represent a level of vibration. Now, do you know, Albert Einstein, God bless him, he sure had his act put together, didn't he? He said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Now, this is what we teach here at the Proctor Gallagher Institute. We teach you the primary cause of the good that you desire. You take care of the cause, the effect always takes care of itself. In fact, Emerson said the law of cause and effect was the most important law in the universe. I don't know if I agree with that, but he's certainly pretty close to it if he isn't right. Everything is energy. Now think. That's all there is to it. Everything is energy. Everything. Match the frequency of the reality you want. Yet you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Earl Nightingale said essentially the same thing in 1959. He brought out the strangest secret record. Right at the beginning of that recording, he talks about the good Dr. Albert Schweitzer being interviewed at an airport in London when he got off a plane. And they asked the good doctor, what was wrong with man today? He said he thought about it for a while. Then he said, man simply doesn't think. We do not think. You say, well, everybody thinks. No. Understand, mental activity does not constitute thinking. You have 5 senses. You can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. When any of those 5 senses are affected, it causes mental activity. That is not thinking. It causes pictures to fly in your mind. That is not thinking. If you heard a siren in the background right now, you might see a fire truck or an ambulance on the screen of your mind. That's not thinking. You have higher faculties. These higher faculties, most people know little about. Oh, they hear the word every now and then. You have perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, intuition. These higher faculties are what literally separate us from all the rest of the animal kingdom. All the rest of the little animal kingdom, they're completely at home in their environment. They blend in. You and I are totally disoriented in our environment. We're totally disoriented. That is because we have been given the godlike ability to create our own environment. Charlie Tremendous Jones was a great man, just a phenomenal public speaker, great teacher, and always promoting books. He said that he believes that we're the composite of the books we read and the people we associate with. I'm inclined to agree with him. Well, as you start to listen to Earl and The Strangest Secret, a lot of things started to happen to me. And it changed all kinds of things in my life. Now there's the two men that both ended up being mentors of mine because I worked with them. I worked very closely with them, but it was as a result of me listening to this recording. I was listening to this recording and I thought, it would be phenomenal to work with them. Well, it was in 1966. I went to visit them. And I decided I want to work with them. Now you see, it was what they would teach me, what Val would teach me, that helped me understand how I had done what I did. You see, Ray Stanford sat down with me and he put an R on a sheet of paper. Then he put 3 letters down beside it, 2 H's and a W. Now he said, Bob, let the R represent results, and let the 2 H's and a W happiness, health, and wealth. Then he asked me if I thought he was a happy person. I said, yeah, he seemed pretty happy to me. He said, did you ever see me sick? I had to admit I hadn't. He said, did you ever see me when I was broke? I had to admit I hadn't. This guy always had money on him, quite a bit of it. He said, Bob, you're one of the most miserable people I've ever met. Now this is in 1961. He said, you're always sick. He said, you don't have a terminal illness, but you've always got a cold or a headache or something. And he said, you're always broke. Now, he was so right. I was earning $4,000 a year. I owed $6,000. Now, I want you to think of this. At the time, I had 2 months high school. I had no business experience at all. I was 26. I left school when I was 15. I worked all over the place. I was in the Canadian Navy. I worked in bars and in factories. Always dumb jobs. No wonder I was unhappy, sick, and broke. I studied nothing. I read nothing. He said, do you ever read anything? And I said, no, I can't read. And that's when he introduced me to this book. And he said, Bob, Napoleon Hill studied 500 of the world's most successful people over many, many years. And it was at the counseling of the richest man in the world that he did that, Andrew Carnegie. And he found there was a golden thread running through their life. And he wrote the laws of achievement. I have the laws of achievement right here. Pull those 4 over a bit. And they are right there. There's 8 little books. And that was the laws of achievement. Now he wrote those at the request of Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie said it was a shame, like people like himself, who was the wealthiest man in the world, is going to their grave with all his knowledge locked up in their bones. He said nobody's ever organized the laws of achievement. And as a result, most people never achieve very much. And he got Hill to do it. Well, after he did it, then this book, The Laws, or Think and Grow Rich, came out of that. And this is what I was really into studying. Okay? You know that within a year, my income was at $175,000. This is a goal card that I have my goal written on. I carry this in my pocket. Every time I put my hand in my pocket and touch that card, the picture that's in my mind flashes on the screen of my mind. I painted the picture in words on the card, and it's tucked into cells in my brain. Well, that's how I went from earning $4,000 to $175,000, and I did it in less than a year. This is no formal education, no business experience. I had no idea what I was doing. In less than 5 years, I was over $1 million a year. I had business operating in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, in London, England. If you ask me how I did, I had no idea. I had no idea. I have found out since it was through the repetition of what I'm talking to you about right now. The action of repeating something that has already been said or written. Look at. Ray said to me, if you read this every day, your life will change. He got me to commit to doing that. I committed I would do it. And God only knows why I've kept that commitment in my 60th year, every day. I don't read a lot of it. I just open and read something. Right here. That's just where I open it now. Remember, too, that all who succeed in life get off to a bad start. And they pass through many heartbreaking struggles before they arrive. The turning point in the lives of those who succeed usually comes at the moment of some crises through which they're introduced to their other selves.